The opening scene features Tyrell Wellick in the F Society headquarters with Elliot, who is executing the fatal keystrokes that will bring E-Corp down to its knees. Tyrell is fascinated by the code and believes that something is coming to life. The scene then flashes back to Elliot's childhood when his father accidentally pushed him out the window. Elliot was rushed to the hospital, where he was treated for a broken limb and a cut on the forehead. Elliot's parents were arguing with each other as they did not have sufficient money to pay the medical fee. Back in the present, Elliot, who is looking for a normal life, wakes up in the morning and continues with his daily routine under the watchful eye of his strict mother. As a daily loop, Elliot has 3-time meals with his friend Leon, and then helps around the house. He also goes to the basketball game, where he always sees Carla, the local pyro who has now become his personal totem. Elliot goes to church twice a week just to socialize himself. At the end of the day, he keeps a diary of everything he does so that he can have more control over himself. However, Elliot has no idea what happened after he entered the F Society headquarters, and he believes Mr. Robot holds the key. One night, Mr. Robot appears and tells Elliot to return to his previous life of hacking and finish what he started. Elliot agrees on a condition that Mr. Robot reveal about what happened to Tyrell, but Mr. Robot refuses to do so. On the other hand, we are introduced to E-General Corp's counsel named Susan, who lives in a smart home. One day, she returns home from her morning walk, only to discover that everything in her house is malfunctioning and is out of control. The temperature in the house fluctuates rapidly, and as a result, she contacts the dealer and leaves the house. As soon as she leaves, Darlene and her F Society group walk in, revealing that they are the ones who hacked the smart home. Meanwhile, Gideon pays a visit to Elliot and asks for his help. According to Gideon, the FBI has accused him of the previous hack, and he wants Elliot to assist in any way he can. However, Elliot is mentally disturbed and refuses to help him, disappointing Gideon. Elsewhere, Darlene serves as a capable but frustrated general to the dwindling troops attempting to carry on F Society's work. She claims that they are on the losing side of the war because E-Corp is still operating with its offline data. She also mentions Susan, who is known as Madam Executioner because her lawsuits usually involve the deaths. She inspires her team to win the war and change the world. Afterwards, Darlene employs the social engineer toolkit to create a ransomware attack file with a 24-hour deadline. She then hands over the file to her coworker, Mobley, who installs it into E-Corp's system, causing it to appear on every computer in the company. At E-Corp, Susan, Scott, and Philip discuss the ransomware attack and decide to fulfill F Society's demand, as they are not in a state to risk further damage on E-Corp. As per the condition, Scott is required to volunteer at a park late at night with a bag containing $5.9 million, the declared ransom for E-Corp's encrypted files. Upon arriving at the specified location, a bike messenger hands Scott a package containing a face mask with the words "wear me" and "burn the money." At first, he appears perplexed, and soon after, he receives a call, forcing him to do as stated within 10 seconds. As a result, Scott hurriedly puts on the mask, scatters the money on the ground, and burns it. Meanwhile, the bystanders in that scene who filmed the burning money with their phones are the ones losing their jobs, their mortgages, and their life savings. Elsewhere, Elliot is watching a basketball game when he is approached by a man named Ray. Ray starts the conversation, and he seems to be aware of Elliot's computer hacking abilities, so he wants Elliot to work for him. However, Elliot refuses to help him, claiming that he doesn't do that any longer. Elliot also coldly expresses his disinterest in speaking with him. The next day, Ray approaches Elliot again and reminds him of their conversation the night before, which Elliot does not recall. Following this, he rushes home and checks his daily diary to check where he was the night before. Just then, Mr. Robot appears and admits that he was the one who spoke to Ray the night before, making Elliot furious. In the next scene, Angela is working for Colby at E-Corp, negotiating a Bloomberg exclusive with the dead-eyed efficiency of a shark on the hunt. She appears to be thriving professionally and decides to drop the Evil Corp lawsuit, but she looks like a shell of herself. She appears to have joined E-Corp in order to bring the company down, but after working there for a month, she begins to enjoy her job. During a break, Angela meets with her lawyer, Nayar, and informs her that she will not be quitting her job. On the other hand, Joanna is knife playing with a guy when she accidentally gets her leg cut. One day, Joanna receives a parcel containing a cell phone, but she misses its incoming call from an unknown number. Meanwhile, Gideon is drinking in a bar and watching the news on TV. According to the news, there is a strong sense that the world is gradually, methodically crumbling, and no one knows how to fix it. A few moments later, a random guy named Brock approaches Gideon. Brock initiates the conversation, but Gideon doesn't seem interested in talking to him. Brock claims that he is going to be a hero the following day. Gideon doesn't understand, and soon after, Brock pulls out his gun and shoots him to death. The scene then shifts shifts back in time to before Romero met Elliot, Malby and Romero walking across the street. During this, Romero shares the oral history of their little arcade and explains that the name F Society was derived from the corporation title, Fun Society Amusement. After listening to Romero's long history, Romero invites him to work with them again. Initially, Romero does not want to be involved in it again, but after hearing about the money, he reconsiders. Malby also mentions the best hacker, and here he appears to be referring to Elliot. Back in the present, Elliot receives a call, and upon answering it, he is surprised to hear Tyrell's voice. Elliot restlessly inquires about his whereabouts, but Tyrell does not believe it is safe to reveal it. Elliot is desperate to learn what happened that night when they were both at F Society's headquarters. In the middle of their conversation, Mr. Robot appears and hangs up the phone. At the same time, Elliot also hears of Gideon's murder. That morning, Malby goes to Romero's house only to discover Romero has been shot in the back of the head. We also learn that Ray works on a website and deals with dangerous and violent people. On the other hand, we see Ray sitting at the table, eating, and talking to someone who isn't there, as if he's hooked up to dialysis. Ray also seems to be mentally disturbed just like Elliot. One day, Ray is having a conversation with his worker, who is handling Ray's website. His worker expresses that he is not able to fix the website due to some security issues. According to the worker, the hackers are constantly crashing the website server, and as a result, he asks Ray to hire a capable person who can migrate the site to a secure location and establish the hot and cold wallet system. Later that evening, Elliot is at the basketball court when he is approached by Leon, who hands him Adderall pills. A short time later, Mr. Robot appears and tries to stop him from taking those Adderalls, but Elliot stubbornly swallows a bunch of Adderall in front of him. Following this, Elliot is walking across the streets when an FBI-looking agent crosses his path. Soon after, a group of agents arrives in the car, abducts Elliot, and transports him to an abandoned location. They bind him to a chair and force him to drink the cement water. Later, it is revealed that it was just another vision of his, with Mr. Robot making it all happen. As a result of this, Elliot vomits the Adderall pills. Mr. Robot then claims that he owns Elliot, and that he is all over Elliot's mind. Hearing this, Elliot refuses to be owned, so he picks up the Adderall pills from his vomit and slurps it back. Meanwhile, Darlene and Malby are on the subway when Malby informs her of Romero's death, but she does not seem to be sad or surprised. Following this, they both go to Trenton's place in order to discuss a possible murderer. Malby suspects the Dark Army, but Darlene believes the Dark Army is unaware of Romero, or the two of them, because they only communicate with her. Malby becomes concerned that they might be executed as well, so he considers hiding in a safe location. However, Darlene appears unfazed despite the loss of a group member. One day, Elliot, who wakes up after 3 days, believes that he has rid himself of Mr. Robot due to Adderall pills. Since then, he starts consuming Adderall pills more frequently, and he also appears to be more active than ever before. He begins talking in church, cheers for the basketball team, and starts to see things differently. Unfortunately, this only lasts a few days before he starts breaking down after 6 sleepless nights. The panic reappears, and he begins to hear the scream in his head. In the church, he goes on a rant about gods, organized religions, and how God owns people. On a sad night, Angela goes to a restaurant where Philip has invited her to dinner. When she arrives, she meets the two of her colleagues named Saul, the managing director of operations, and Jim, the SVP of BA. After the dinner, Saul and Jim depart, leaving Angela alone with Philip. Philip then tells her that Saul and Jim were involved with Colby in some nefarious insider trading, back when they devastated her hometown. He also hands her a CD that he claims to have enough evidence to put them locked away for years. Elsewhere, Elliot gets a visit from Ray, who still wants Elliot's help with the website he has been running. Ray shares with him about losing his wife several years ago, which is why he talks out loud at the breakfast table alone. Afterwards, Elliot winds up back at Ray's office, and the things between them get deeper. It appears that Ray is well aware of Elliot's hallucinations, and the extent to which he is suffering mentally. Ray tells him about his wife, claiming that she followed all the rules of life, but that one day none of them seems to have mattered. He goes on to say that he does not believe in the phrase, "When you fall, you gotta get up," because the entire situation is a fall. According to Ray, it is not about getting up, but rather about stumbling in the right direction, because it is the only true way to move forward. Ray also asks Elliot if he still has hallucinations, but Elliot refuses to talk about it. Ray then tells him that keeping it inside is not going to last. After hearing all of this, Elliot starts believing that it isn't about the crash, but about setting a breakpoint to find the flaw, fix it, and carry on until hitting the next flaw. On the other hand, a new FBI agent named Dominique Di Piero who is in charge of Romero's murder investigation, arrives at Romero's place. Romero's mother, who is suffering from cataracts, opens the door and invites her in. Upon inquiring about Romero, she learns that he had a chubby guy friend. Romero's mother is more likely to be talking about Malby. In the midst of all of this, Di Piero discovers the papers with the codes written on them. She also finds out the location of the F Society headquarters and heads towards it. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos. Thanks for watching.